My guests today are writer-actress Lindsay Bennett-Thompson and actor Liam Francis Collins in their incredible film, Boys Like You. Now, Lindsay Bennett-Thompson is an actor, artist, and writer, and she has worked in many major theaters and had roles in a variety of daytime and primetime TV, and has appeared in several award-winning short films and feature films and global brand commercials. Now, actor Liam Francis Collins starred in Salvable alongside Toby Kebbell and Shia LaBeouf, and Liam has also starred in and produced Boys Like You, that has been quoted by director Shane Meadows as being a short but potent punch in the cinematic guts that leaves you wanting more, and I can prove to you that it does. Now, the film has been BAFTA and BIFA selected and was the official selected short at the SCAD Film Festival, and has also been awarded the prestigious Golden Bee at this year's Manchester Film Festival. So let's welcome writer-actress Lindsay Bennett-Thompson and actor-producer Liam Francis Collins to the show. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you very much. What an introduction.
Yeah, well, unbelievable. Thank you for having us both.
Well, absolutely. I'm glad you reached out to me, Liam. And I want to go with the first question to Lindsay, because I know that you wrote the screenplay for Boys Like You. Where did the idea come from?
So Liam and I have wanted to collaborate for a while now. And so we were kind of just going, right, okay, what kind of ideas could there be? And I think the essence of what Boys Like You is about, I've wanted to write about that kind of subject matter for a long time, but I wasn't quite sure which avenue to go down kind of with it. And then I think the opportunity just kind of presented itself when Liam said that he wanted to collaborate. I said, actually, I can kind of switch this around and who plays whose roles and things like that. So yeah, it was an organic thing, but I think it only really developed when, Liam came to me and said, I'd really like to kind of push an idea a bit further.
So how would you, without spoiling the film, because this could be a very tough one to explain, but how would you describe the story?
So I would maybe describe the story as a kind of a desperate middle-aged housewife seeks some kind of reconciliation from her past, or some kind of healing. She's on her own healing journey.
Yeah,
I'm glad you presented
go ahead,
question.
Liam.
I was about to say, I'm glad you presented Lindsay with that question, because I would have failed miserably trying to explain that. So yeah, well done.
When I started watching the film, and I tell you the truth, before I watched it, I read the log line. I'm looking at the film poster, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. When you first look at the film, you're thinking, she's going to cheat on her husband. This is going to be an adultery type story. And, part of me was just like, is she hiring a hitman? Because then there's that, because the tenseness of these scenes, the audience's minds are like, okay, where is this going? Because even as an audience member, it almost makes you a little nervous as to which way this is going to go. And so when I look at the whole film, it just comes across as amazing storytelling. And so I want to bring up the very first scene, because of the way that it's framed. Because the camera pans in to you, Lindsay, because you're sitting on the edge of the bed in the bedroom. The camera is to your back. And the way that the camera is framed on both sides, because it's framed with the doorway, creating this closing in, like it's her emotions. It's like this whole situation is closing in on her, and she's trying to make the decision of what she's about to do. And so, of course, your character's named June. So this first scene is solely focused on you. I knew that your character was extremely nervous because it's early in the morning and she's already drinking wine.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So,
she's having a
and
sneaky Beano.
what was funny was when I first started to watch it, it didn't occur to me about the wine. And when I
Mm.
went back to watch it again, I'm like, wait a minute, that's a sign that she's extremely nervous, trying to calm herself down, or she's trying to muster up the courage to do what she would like to do. So, have you ever started your morning off with a glass of wine?
Nothing that I would ever admit to.
And
No,
I've just realised
it's
as
so
well.
interesting that you've noticed those kind of things, because it was also the fact that not only does she have a glass of wine, but immediately she gets in the car. All these kind of places of where June's head's at and the risks that she's already taking. She's almost kind of at that. She's not even at the crossroads anymore. This is really where she's got to a point of going, something today, right now, needs to change. And I don't know. I don't even know when I get in this car if I'm going to get to this destination that I want to go to. But I need to move forward because June is just in this really stagnant place.
Yes, and here's the thing. If you really look at it and break it down, with her sitting on the edge of the bed with a glass of wine early in the morning, she has to take the first step because she's already thinking, if I don't do this now, I never will. So
Yeah,
her first step is, I got to get off the bed here. And then the next step was when she got in the car, was like, that's the next step is, am I going to put this into motion? And the thing that I noticed, what I loved about the cinematography and the camera work here was the extreme close-ups that came upon you. If it was just the side of your face with one eye, if it's that close-up in the car, it's bringing the audience so deep into your nervousness, your thought process. What in the world are you about to do? And you're carrying the audience on your back into these scenes.
and
So go
that's
ahead.
really all. James and Paul. James Oldham, the cinematographer, and Paul Holbrook, our director. All of those choices are they're just the artists that Paul and James are. Because obviously when you're writing it, that's not part of your creation whatsoever. I mean, when I'm writing it, you kind of get a sort of a sense of things, but that's why we were so privileged that James and Paul would want to collaborate with us, because we knew that they were going to take this script and make it. Well, I don't even know. I can't even think of a word. I think they call it. It's been Holbrooked when they take a script and then they sort of tease out different moments. And Paul and I collaborated a lot as well, particularly on the ending. And then obviously when James comes in and he chooses the way that he wants to depict things, it's just magical.
Well, in the very first scene, while you're sitting on the bed, and it happens so super fast. There's that extremely quick flashback. It's this little
Mm.
scene of blue. Was that June's inner self screaming out? Or was that just the glimpse of James?
Well, I'm gonna let the audience decide.
I love that. I love that
I don't
because
like to
no,
tell you how to interpret something, so I'm gonna let people decide for themselves.
it is it's a mystery that starts to be revealed towards the end of the film. Now, Liam, I want to ask you because you come in to the neighborhood bar, so to speak, and your demeanor is I'm trying to figure out the right word for it. You're cocky, brash, and very overly confident. And I think your demeanor throws the audience off as to what is really going on in this scene in the bar. I mean, how for you, how did you prepare yourself to face June the character?
Um, I think it was definitely not easy when we were shooting and when we were about to shoot. I was kind of, I had in my way I was going to play the character, and what we'd done a few workshops with the director beforehand, and we were very conscious of it not being this sort of character of where I'm from in Manchester. There's a certain essence that a Manchester sort of person has and a way they carry themselves, and we didn't want it to be a caricature of this person and someone that was over the top. The performance, very conscious of it being too over the top, and we wanted it to be nuanced and very secluded, as you say. And that first scene and his character, he did have to be very, he owns in his world, that is his pub. He owns that pub. He knows everyone. He says what, he owns that area, and especially when he sees June in his area, and he's gonna make that known and make that presence known. So as an actor, it was very it definitely wasn't easy, because I think that, especially with Paul saying, you need to give off that. We need to feel that this is your area, this is your bar, and these are your people, and you're showing off per se, basically. And yeah, it was definitely a challenge, but fun to play. Because I'm actually not like that in real life, believe it or not. That's not. I do like to be the centre of attention at times, but I'm definitely not someone who is cocky and thinks is the, he's everything. So yeah, it was very 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 tough, but rewarding at the same time.
Well, what I loved about the setting of the scene is that June is placed in the last booth, basically in the corner of the bar. So she's already in her own life, she already feels cornered by the whole situation. And it's closing in. The bar is not overly lit, it's not overly bright. It's shadowy, I guess you would call it. So it's a part of her life that stays in the shadows where she's been keeping it. And now, because of the setting of the booth, the window, now this light is coming in and she's trying to figure out how to handle it. But when you come in, she's already trapped in the corner because you already notice you're out of place. That you're a person who, you don't come into places like this. So your character already picked that up. Now, Lindsay, when you're sitting there and he's coming in, what is your thought process as an actress?
So this is really interesting, actually, because I suppose it goes back to your first question of where did the idea come from. So so essentially part of it is my own story. So I was put into care when I was born, and I was fortunate enough to be adopted quite quickly. So, but I sort of had that beginning journey, and I don't want to speak to all adopted children. I can't speak for them, but I certainly know from my perspective and the people that I know, that I think that many adopted children or children that have been in care in that system have played out what it would be like to meet their parent if they haven't done already. And then so what I had to do in preparation of going, actually, what would it be like for the parent, for the biological parent? And Paul and I had
Spoiler
quite a lot of
alert.
conversations about that. And we kind of really deep dived into the fear of what that would be, all those kind of things. So yeah.
Yeah, wow, you actually had to switch roles, didn't you?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think because did that give you a bigger appreciation of birth parents in that
I don't
position?
know. I honestly don't think I delved into it sort of that much, because films, work and creativity, I don't see it as therapy. I see it as storytelling, and so it's important for me that it wasn't going to be an exercise in some kind of unhealed trauma because it wasn't.
Well, yeah, because the meeting between both of you in that scene, it starts off with this very deep sense of mystery.
Mm.
And the audience is tossed between thinking, okay, June is either going to start an affair or she's going to hire Chris to beat up her husband. Because, and I love the way this story is told, because there's little things that kind of throw off the audience to keep them away from the ending. And
Mm.
there's two little clues to throw off the audience, which was June's nervousness, but then there were the marks on Chris's knuckles. And I thought, okay, where is this going? And this is why I love this film so much, is because it keeps the audience off guard for the majority of the whole film before the twist or the climax of the film comes into view. So you've got to tell Paul that I just love that whole element.
Oh, yeah, we will. And it was important for Paul, especially, that throughout the film, the audience asked themselves of where their alliances are. Are there, and that's when we started really delving into kind of bias, like unconscious bias, certainly when it comes to class. In the UK in particular, I don't know what it's like in America, but the class structure is still very much ingrained in our society, and how the working classes are depicted on television and film, and and where audiences' alliances lay, and do they change at any point, kind of during the film. And that was really, really important for Paul to kind of for that to come across, in the actual very short amount of time that we had.
That really makes a whole lot of sense, because here in America, when films are done and they're based on American ideas, or I guess American, maybe it's the middle class, the lines of the classes here have become so blurred that
Mm,
it's like social media. One
yeah.
person can fake their whole life on social media. You may think they're middle class, you maybe think they're upper class, but you have no idea that they could be lower class. And I mean that in an economic sense.
Mm.
And but in Britain, it is completely different, isn't it? I mean, there is still this, I guess you would call it, what, class warfare or
I
class
think so as
separation?
well, but I'm sure Liam will agree with me. But there is a huge pride as well in class, particularly working class, because we have to really work hard for all our opportunities. And I personally believe, Liam might not agree, but I think like if you are working class and you're born working class, it really doesn't matter how much money that you have. You are going to die working class, and that's just kind of who you are, is ingrained in you. And you don't kind of really want anyone to think that you're anything other than that, because there's a pride with it. I think middle class people want to be upper class, and upper class people, they're so bonkers and so far out of the conversation, they don't care.
Yeah, don't get me started on politics, Ward. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah, don't get Liam started about
but
it.
Lindsay's spot on. We're from the north, and whether the north, whether people like or not, the north years ago was it was going to be made into prisons. That the north was the bottom of the food pile. And, the north wasn't respected. There's a reason why, especially in our industry, there isn't many actors. Most working actors are from very privileged backgrounds, and that's fine. But it just means for people like me and Lindsay, we have to work twice as hard. We don't have that. I wish I did, but we don't have that sort of safety net, and it means we've grown up with this grit and determination, and that comes hand in hand with also being from the north. And I'm biased, and obviously Lindsay's biased, but Lindsay will think Blackpool's the best city in the world, and I think Manchester's the best city in the world. But they're both in the north of England, which to me, Northerners, we have a different feel for life, and you can't really explain it unless you are from the north. And as Lindsay said, it gives you that grit, especially as an actor, because you've had experiences that people that aren't from the north and aren't from that working class background they just don't have a clue. So
Yeah, and that comes across in this film. And I'm glad you told me that the working class in the UK, they still pride themselves for being working class, and there is nothing wrong with that. And but it really brings an authentic reality to this film. And one of the lines in this film is so profound, and I think it's really the turning. If people will pay attention very, very closely, the turning point in the dialogue was when June says, "Are you happy?" It's very profound. It's thought-provoking question for anyone. And but in that scene, I think that's the one line that all of a sudden throws everybody off, because why would you ask that? Because
Yeah.
we as an audience don't know yet. And
Yeah.
for you, well, let me ask you, Liam, when that question was posed to you, what went through your mind?
as the character, I think it's he talked about at the start. He's coming in here. He's cocky. He's there's a game of cat and mouse going on here. He's flirting with June. He doesn't know what to think of this person. So for her to question is because we know he's this cocky person, but that's when we see the mark where there's obviously some vulnerability about him, and there's something that isn't as it seems. And when she asked that question, as Chris, he's kind of like, well, first of all, how dare you ask me that, and why would you ask me that? And he's no clue at this point what's going on, but it's a very off, just like you would be as an audience member. Why are you asking me that? And it's definitely, as you say, just a shift in that scene where it kind of just all flips completely.
Yeah, no, it's I'm trying to get that right thought because of that scene, because you're right. Chris comes in and he's really he does when he comes across harsh, there is this flirtation that he's bringing forth with June, because he knows she's completely out of place in this bar. This is not the type of woman that shows up in this place. He knew that the moment he walked in the door. And to think of that thought process, that of an underlying flirtatious tone with June, and then she asked that question. I can't even imagine what your character was thinking when she left, and then he's standing there next to that table and he's looking at that card in his hand. That is a mind-blowing moment for him.
Yeah, and it was very hard to pull off as well because thanks to Paul, and how great Paul is as a director, and he would always give me these, some actors, obviously improvisation is great and you have a play, but I'm an actor that does love getting direction, and I love to kind of get those notes, and Paul give me those great little points of, whether it be, you need to play with, you're playing with you, and you're playing a game with her. It's and you're owning it every time. So then when we see that moment of him, to tell that in the 20 seconds or however it lasts, for all those emotions, we had to do so many. There's like 5 different shifts of what he's thinking at that time for reasons that we know now. But and it's just a powerful moment in that scene for sure.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say anything, but when she left and he was standing there holding that card, and now the camera's not even showing what's on the card. That was right then and there that I went, "Oh my gosh." That's when I figured it out. This is why I love this film so much. But for you, Lindsay, um, when she asked Chris, "Are you happy?" Was she testing him, but also trying to find even ground in her own nervousness and possibly unhappiness or insecurity in her own life up to that point?
I think I think there is a sense of an olive branch there, of trying to find some common ground, trying to connect with this young man. But it's a very direct question that kind of commands a direct answer. Even though he actually doesn't give me a direct answer. But he flips the table again straight away, sort of on me. And so that, in a sense of, she's testing the water continuously. Like, this is where she wanted to be, but now she's here. She's scared. You know, she is scared, and so, but then there is a sense of kind of familiarity that she goes, okay, I'm going to keep testing the water. I'm going to keep testing the water with this stranger and just see, what comes out of that. So yeah, it's a very, very loaded question for June.
Her nervousness never left her.
Mm.
I mean, never. Because even with that question, but then there was the second question in the scene. Because in the midst of their conversation, she was actually trying to encourage him that there is a much bigger world outside of the bar, but also outside the town. But didn't that seem to backfire on her?
Yeah, it does backfire quite badly. Because I mean, who is this woman to come in and, come into his territory and tell him how to live his life?
I didn't figure the scene out until I figured out when he stood up and he looked at the card. Then I went, oh my goodness. She was being what any woman would be in that situation. And there was a particular instinct that came out of her in that very, very moment. And for you, Liam, here you are playing Chris in this incredible scene. And I mean, for you, I mean, when she is like encouraging your character, hey, there's a bigger life outside this bar. Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah, it's and then obviously when it pushes that button, and obviously when we're shooting that scene, I have to call Lindsay these names for about 4 hours. So it gets to the stage where, apologies, Lindsay, for calling you these names.
Well, I wrote it, so I don't mind.
You wrote it, so yeah. And can I just say on that scene as well, Lindsay won't mind me saying this, as an actor, when you are working with someone as amazing as Lindsay is, because in this film, a performance is for me very underrated, because as a character of Chris, he's cocky, so he's in a way he's in the character, he's trying to chew the screen in terms of, because his character's so big and Lindsay's character June is so nuanced, and I think that it just goes to show with how amazing Lindsay is an actress. So when you're acting off Lindsay, and as long as you listen, it just makes me just a better actor, and it's so much it was made it easier for me.
This is one of the reasons why I love this film, because it's performance driven. The performances alone are driving such very tense and strong emotions from both characters. You portray an emotion when you went to the men's room. You looked in the mirror. Right then and there, Chris was thinking about what she said. And he couldn't really wrap his head around it, because it completely threw him off.
Yeah, and what you don't see in that bathroom scene is the steps that I had to walk on because I wasn't tall enough for the mirror. So we had to put boxes on there. So I was actually trying not to fall. It was technically very difficult, actually. That was probably the most difficult scene in the film. No, but I think when he's in that bathroom, for him as well, there's a thought of not only is he thinking about that, but he's flashing back to all his life as well, and maybe is she right? What am I doing? Is this just the way it is going to be for the rest of his life? So it's again I think that, as well as the mat, when he looks at the beer mat, is just as important, that feeling that he gets. So yeah, it was an important part of the script.
So how long did it take y'all to film
We
the
did
short
it in
film?
3 days. We did it in 3 days. So it was
Yeah, it was
it
3 or 4. I'm not
it might have been
sure.
4. It might have been
It could
4.
have been 4. Yeah.
Might
Was
have been
most of the
4.
time spent in the bar?
Yeah.
Yeah. The house, we did that first, which I wasn't in, and I think it was very busy that first day because I think it was first day, isn't it? And I wasn't there. I was there, but I left, so it was mostly Lindsay that day working. And then yeah, we did most of it in the pub, which I used to go in that pub when I was 19, 20, because I grew up near that where we filmed that. So very surreal to before I decided I wanted to do acting or anything, to go in there with sort of the characters that you would see in that sort of environment, to then film in a film in there years later was very surreal. Yeah, I must say.
Yeah, I mean, I can picture every scene in my head. And
Thank you so much. It's so lovely that
Yeah,
you've
it's
obviously,
love it to hear you speaking of, because you.
yeah, and there's so many
I,
moments that you've paid such clear attention to, that I think, just as filmmakers and as screenwriters, you put them in hoping that they might be picked up. But then obviously when somebody does pick up on nuance and subtext and all those different types of things, and also maybe has their own interpretation and their own feeling about it, it means the world to us. It's
well,
really, really lovely.
it's really kind of funny because when I started doing this, I never thought it was a big deal.
Hmm.
And I was having so many film directors that after the interviews were over, they couldn't believe that somebody paid attention that closely to their work. And I'm like,
Mm.
I thought everybody did it. But obviously
No.
nobody does. But that's what makes filmmaking so intriguing. And it's like I tell people all the time, the greatest thing about filmmaking is there's a magic to it and there are miracle moments, because sometimes you don't know how you're going to pull off a scene and then it just happens and you're like, wow, how did we pull that off? And
Yeah.
I think it's those moments that people need to notice, because like in this film, I think even for film students, Boys Like You is a great film to learn from. It's like, I love the opening scene. I love the camera coming in through the doorway, because I knew right then and there it was framed to be focused, closed, make it tense. There's no escape. There's a decision to make. Do you have the confidence? Do you have the courage to take the next step? Which again, like I said, you got to get to the car to go from there.
Yeah.
And that's what the scene was. And then of course the little thing about the drinking wine in the morning. How many people will ever put two and two together? That's another element that shows she's nervous. She's trying to muster up courage to take that step. And that's one reason why I love the bar scene. I could sit there and watch the bar scene over and over again and go, the whole bar scene, even without dialogue, told a story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And both of you, oh my gosh, both of you were absolutely brilliant in your performance. It was seamless. It just
That's very
worked.
kind. I think we owe it mostly to Paul.
Yeah, for his direction and
Yeah.
yeah, but it's funny you mentioned that Ward about that, because I think in America this is this has been perceived, not that it hasn't in England, but I think for whatever reason the American audience has, if Lindsay would agree, has really took a shine to this, and when you talk about it being taught to filmmakers, a lovely person by the name of Sheila, who runs the SCAD Film Festival, obviously the biggest film festival in the world, and we were selected as their main short film, and she is a teacher at the university with screen acting, and she plays this film for all the students, talking about the art of filmmaking, and it's an honour to hear that
I didn't know
from
that.
Lindsay. There you go. I was waiting for the moment to tell you that, but yeah, and it's just amazing. I think the American, it's just a testament to, I think, of how much the American audience is paying attention to this film, and how it's been perceived, which is not, when we made it, we want it to be great, but you don't assume it's a very northern, we've explained at the start about the northern aspect of it, but it's a very northern working class British film, and you don't expect it to have this kind of, audience applause from America. So it's amazing.
Well, let me ask you this, because I am not going to give this film away, because there is a much deeper story I wish I could talk about, but I don't want to give the ending away. You've already had the film appear at some of the film festivals. What was the audience's overall reaction to the film? And maybe what questions have you received?
Sorry, what was the last bit?
And also, what type of questions did you receive?
I think the most common question I can't say because it will give away the ending.
I get it.
How it's received, a lot of people, I think there's a lot of intrigue surrounding Boys Like You, in this raising the same things of straight away when you see June and you're going on June's journey, and then there is a shift along the way, again with an alliance of who am I supposed to be, whose flag am I supposed to be waving here? Like, whose side am I supposed to be on? And I think that's kind of the main thing that we get from it. And quite a lot of surprise. There's a lot of suspense. And yeah, I think we take people by surprise, which is what we wanted to do. Right. What do you think, Liam?
I chose a side.
Oh, did you?
Now, Liam, what did you think of the audience's reaction so far to this film?
I think, especially when you see it at the cinema on a big screen, is for this film in particular, I think it's cliche to say, but this film in particular is at its absolute masterclass on a cinema screen. And when you have that, and the audience, when the ending happens and it fades to black, that's the best part, because you hear people, whatever their reactions is, you hear it, and then that's when the credits roll with the beautiful piece of music we managed to obtain, and it just makes it, and that's the best bit. And as that, and obviously the questions start to come at me, with obviously the ending, which we won't go into, but yeah, that's the best bit for me, and something that also we can't talk about, but changed multiple times. Actually, that wasn't going to be the original ending in the way that happens. It was going to be another way, and then it was another way, and then. But I'm glad it kind of happened how it did, because it couldn't. We made the right decision.
I think, and I'm gonna take a big guess here. If I was sitting in the audience, and for the audiences that have already seen this film, my guess is they gasp at the end, and then they're like, I wanted more. I want more. I want more of this story. And I can see why you would wrestle with the ending of the film, because you could have gone 3 different ways.
I think
Yeah.
we did. Yeah, we
Yeah.
definitely did. There was probably more than three different ways. um, yeah, and that, and I think you are absolutely right. Some of the comments have been, we do want to see more of what this relationship can be, or what it was before we arrived at this kind of point. So potentially that's, maybe in the pipeline for the future, but I don't want to hex anything
No, 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 no.
about the potential
It's
development for it.
it's very rare when I see a short film that sometimes when I see them, I'm like, okay, I want to see a sequel. Nobody
Mm.
does sequels to short films. They usually go to, if the idea is there, they go to a feature. But what I have to ask, and I'm not, again, ladies and gentlemen, we are literally shrouding the ending of this film with great mystery for a reason, because we don't want to spoil it for you, because this is a film you have to see. So I'm going to ask both of you to see if I get this right. With the ending of the film, some people would look at it taking it literally, but I looked at it as a metaphor. Am I
Mm.
right?
Interesting.
I'm not going to tell you if you're right. Of course, I'm not going to tell you.
Can't tell you that
Dang it,
one,
Lindsay.
No.
but interesting.
It's your, and that's it, and that's it. I think the beauty of any film is every single person takes away what they want. They have their own interpretation. Yeah, so I'm not going to tell you how to interpret Boys Like You at
I
all.
think it goes with even you saying that word, just testament to how good this writing is for Lindsay. I mean, and for me as an actor, no matter what I'm going to do, this character for me is probably going to be one of the best characters I'll ever will play. Just the transition, shaving my hair off, doing whatever I had to do to get into that character, and just it's a testament to how great this writing is. It really is.
Yeah, it
Well, I'm glad
is.
it's over as well, because Liam went on a massive diet and ate one Baby Bell a day, and he was so insufferable that he would phone me, and I was like, Liam, just eat a pizza. I'm not speaking to you until you've had a slice of
Yeah,
bread.
yeah. My relationship, my partner nearly questioned that we may split up a few times because I wasn't nice to live with, because
Oh, it was awful.
I think jokes aside on that though, I think it was important. As this character, I think with what he does, and when people watch it, his whole demeanor in my eyes, and we talked about it with Paul. He did have to have a look, and I think with we wanted him to have a certain sort of look, and him to, in my mind, with what he does in his lifestyle, he would be looking more gone. He would be sort of kind of that vulnerability be a bit thinner. So it was. Don't think I'll do it again. For depends what the role is, but it was a tough
To,
tough.
to go method in a short film, that's pretty big. That's commitment. And
I
I think
did,
the
yeah,
commitment paid off, Liam.
yeah. I hope
Oh,
so.
I
Yeah,
mean, I would say that. I mean, whatever Liam does, he puts absolutely everything into. Do you know what I mean? So even though we joke about it now, I mean, it was a huge testament to his character that he was all in, and that was it. Which is incredible.
Yeah, that's the only thing. I wish I wish I just had this gigantic theater room that I could watch these short films in, because like you
Mm.
said, you have to see this type of film in a theater setting, because the size of the screen makes this film incredible. Because
Mm.
the thing for me was, it was the cinematography, it was the camera angles, it was the extreme close-ups that played so deep into the story. It was the acting, it was the performances that both of you gave, and no stone was left unturned in this film. And even with the twist, because what I loved is the audience in the beginning of the film up until there's that certain part in the bar, nobody's choosing sides because they don't know what the secret of the story is. Then when that secret is revealed, they're trying to figure out, whose side am I on? And the way that it ends, you still don't know.
Mm.
Because now
And the
you're
thing is,
trying to
I
read the
think they
deeper
do pick
story.
sides. I think as soon as June and Chris are in a room together, they've picked sides, and it's like it's an unconscious bias, and they've got an alliance, and it's an unconscious thing. But then, yeah, it's interesting to see if it shifts.
Yeah, because I get Chris's side. I get June's side, but I wrestle with June.
Yeah.
And that's why this film is so good. Because the audience, after this film is over, they're going to go, why didn't she do that? Why did she do this? You know, and nothing makes a short film great is then when the audience is trying to figure out, or what I always tell film directors, it's the audience that's writing the true ending of the film in their own mind.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
Instead of just being first act, second act, third act, it's over, that's it. You've seen the film, it's great. But when you leave the audience lingering, that's just the best thing.
I would agree.
So what do you have any, I'm sure you do, major film festivals coming up for Boys Like You?
I think our next one is one that Paul was really excited to, because Paul is a very seasoned director, and he was very excited, and that's in Sunderland, so that's the northeast. And then we've got a couple in London. We've got another one in Birmingham coming up. I think we've got two in London coming up.
We just had one in America, didn't we? I'm trying to think of where it was. Or was it next week or is it last week? Yeah, we just had one in America, but I can't remember.
Now, have you been able to compare the audiences, a U.S. audience compared to a U.K. audience's reaction to the film?
We have, because we had one of our behind the scenes photographers was it SCAD, Liam?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
think it
he
was.
said that the American audiences are a lot more vocal. Like English, which I was thinking about it today, and it would have been really amazing to be able to experience that, but unfortunately we just can't afford to go. But yeah, it would be so cool to sit in an American audience and kind of actually hear their people's response.
So we're more vocal and the British are more prim and proper?
I think just a lot more internalized. Like, yeah.
I think there's a state of maybe a generational thing, but more in maybe Europe. I mean, in Europe, you tend to get it different in France or in Spain or Italy, in these places. But in England, I think, and compared to America, just Americans and that European audience just seem to really appreciate
Yeah.
filmmaking and will dissect a sort of film as opposed to just watching it. Maybe. I mean, I'm terrible at watching films with my partner because she just wants to watch a film, and I'm going, did you not understand the way that scene was shot? And do you understand the characters? And I probably bore people because people just want to watch a film. And
Okay, you and I could watch a film together because
yeah,
my wife, she doesn't like it when I do that.
yeah.
Because I'm
No,
like, do you understand the essence of that scene right there? And she's looking at me
yeah,
like, let me watch the movie.
yeah,
Now I'm catching her going, did you see that? You know why they did that? And I'm sitting there going, oh, so you're breaking down the scene. I said, like, maybe I'm
Yeah.
rubbing off on you. So yeah, Liam, you and I could sit in the same theater together and do the same thing. Cause
Oh,
I'm looking at all of it. Cause I can't
yeah.
even watch a movie the same way anymore.
Mm,
Mm.
absolutely. It takes the fun away in a way, but also makes it amazing as well when you're
Oh
a film.
yeah. Oh yeah. So I have to ask. So Lindsay, what do you have coming up new? Or do you have a new project coming up?
Well, I've just finished on a project, but unfortunately, I can't say what it is. It is an American show, but my lips are sealed on it at the moment.
Okay, well, when it gets ready to be released, you're gonna have to let me know so I know which one it is so I can watch it.
Okay, I will.
And what about you, Liam? You have a new project coming up?
It will be the film, yeah, Salvable, which will be it is out. I need to get this right because America it actually is out a month earlier than the UK. May 2nd. So actually, May 2nd in the US. Salvable. That's stars Shia LaBeouf and Toba Kebbell. A great film. Yeah, get to the cinema, watch that. You'll see me in a couple of scenes, and yeah, yeah, it's
So,
exciting.
so it is a theatrical release.
Yeah, it will be hitting cinemas May 2nd, and then I believe it goes on streaming after the UK release. But yeah, great experience, and yeah, many experiences from that one for sure.
Oh, I bet. So, hey, ladies and gentlemen, Boys Like You is a powerful, mysteriously tense, compelling film that creates more questions from the audience than answers, and that is a good thing. Films today need to create conversations from the audience, and Boys Like You does just that. The cinematography is excellent. The framing of each shot adds to the tenseness and the depth of the story. This isn't just about the outward elements, but the extreme close ups are used to take us inside the minds and the hearts of the characters. Now, the acting performances of Lindsay and Liam, they are superb as it comes across as natural and not forced. Again, you feel every emotion they portray on screen, a power that draws the audience into their story and doesn't let you go. Now, Boys Like You is an excellent short film and has all the elements of being a top award winning film this season. And I want to thank you, Lindsay and Liam, for sharing this film with me today. And I think we've pretty much shrouded the ending in mystery.
Hopefully.
Absolutely, no, absolute pleasure, Ward. It's been great to talk about this and in depth, and yeah, it's been amazing.
Well, y'all were both very, 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 very welcome. And again, ladies and gentlemen, if you attend a film festival and Boys Like You is being shown, make sure you are sitting in the theater because you're going to see a film that if you are a up and coming filmmaker, take a pen and a piece of paper because you're going to need to take notes because this is a film in which will make you a better filmmaker. And for some of you, maybe even a better actor. So, ladies and gentlemen, please visit us at bondoncinema.com. And as for me, ladies and gentlemen, you're either going to see me at the movies or from the red carpet.